mine here. Alright, so.
Okay, I would like to call a Town of Lake Mills public hearing and special meeting of the electors to order on this date, Tuesday, December 9th, 2014 at 7:30 here at the Town Hall. We are here to look at the proposed budget. I would open the floor for any public discussion on the proposed 2015 budget.
The only question I have is, I know after the fire department changed their budget, how much was cash applied? Because I was kind of looking at what our treasurer's report, and I was trying to...
Well, the cash applied is simply to balance it.
Right, yeah, correct. But I was just wondering what you used. $47,045.40 on page 2.
Give it to me one more time, Sarah.
40. Do you guys need one of these?
47,
Oh,
45, 40.
40, yeah.
Yep.
So I do have an updated version.
Yep.
Okay?
I got two. Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
welcome. Are there any other questions on the budget for 2015? Are you here for the budget hearing? Thank you.
So any idea where we're gonna end up? Cause, let's see,
We got some expenses on brushing this month, so
Expenses are done, but
yeah,
income is not.
okay.
Do you have any idea? How much?
Cause we had, the general fund is 98,000, so if you take 47,000 from that, that's gonna leave you with what, 52,000?
How much do we usually bring in December?
Minus, or without the tax, or with the tax?
Without, because most of it's not ours, I guess.
It's not too much. Should we have, wait, I need water for the grant.
Well, that came, I don't remember. No, it didn't.
It did. Yeah, but there is a, there's
Receipts,
maybe
disbursements,
$2,400 there. What did you say, roughly, which, around that, okay. Well, this is last year.
No, we're not gonna have that soon.
Okay,
We will have that, maybe.
51, 104, 93.
1,400.
yeah, that's,
We'll get it December.
51,
104, 90, 93. So that was 98, 150, 33 minus 47,
yep,
045, 40.
yep.
Okay?
Right now.
building, and then the interest.
Mhm.
So, no, would you say, probably stretching at $2,500 without taxes?
how do you feel about that?
About,
The $2,500 you got left? Feel pretty good?
yeah.
All right.
Well, last year we ended up with like about 9,000, 9,700, I think is where we were at.
Okay, are there any other questions on the budget? Yeah, nobody's here. I will close the public hearing. And I will call a special meeting of the electors to order. Discussion to approve the total year 2015 highway expenditures pursuant to section 81.013 of the Wisconsin statutes. So, the total highway budget is set by the electors. And that dollar figure we have included is
193,
193.
193,000.
Right, $193,000 total. I would entertain a motion to approve the highway expenditures for 2015 at $193,000.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? We must be doing just a super job, or there'd be a lot of people here. All in favor of approving the 2015 highway budget expenditures at the total of $193,000, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. Third item is the discussion to adopt the 2014 town tax levy to be paid in 2015 pursuant to section 60.10 of the Wisconsin statutes. We postponed our budget meeting last month because we did not have the proper notice time, and so we are approving this levy tonight, even though the tax bills have already been generated and sent out. And so, the tax levy is
Right here.
$365,952, which is a mill rate of,
No, that's not fine.
No, that's it.
that's not final, huh?
No. They,
Right.
this gets updated as more towns,
Supply
so-
information.
Yes, exactly, so
Okay.
that's not current.
All right. So is there any discussion on the tax levy?
No, ma'am.
Hearing none. We are adopting that tax levy by a vote of the electorate. All in favor of approving the tax levy as printed, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, the same sign. The tax levy is adopted. I would ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing and the special meeting of the electors.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Meeting is adjourned. Okay, I'll call the town board meeting of the town of Lake Mills to order December 9th, 2014 at 8 p.m. The notice was published in the Lake Mills Leader on December 3rd, 2014, and posted at the Town Hall, the North End Boat Launch, the cul-de-sac on Finch Brothers Road, and also on our website on November 30th. All present and accounted for. We took that out of the... So, everyone is here. The adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt December's agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Moving on to the approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 11th town board meeting as published.
Second?
Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as published, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Minutes are approved. Item number 4, the approval of the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve December's treasurer's report.
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions for our treasurer? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, same sign. The December 2014 treasurer's report is approved as printed. Number 5, approval of the general funding vouching.
I'll make a motion that we approve general fund vouching in the amount of $38,182.63.
Second?
Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the vouching, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Funding is approved. Again, looking at all these checks for election workers, I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of them. They really did a bang-up job. Got a good
Yes.
staff of people, some new people coming on. It's really nice. I'm sure that you could use some extra volunteers.
Sure, always.
So if anybody wants to volunteer to work as an election worker, I'm sure Sarah would be more than happy to accept your application.
Yep. Well done, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you too, Sharon, I know it's been a really busy month for you, both of you, so thank you very much for stuffing tax bills, making our Christmas so merry. Thank you very much, ladies. Item number 6 are the reports. The police report, Bob.
This report for November, there was 522 miles of patrol, it was 54 and a quarter hours. 11 hours was running radar, we handled 5 complaints. 2 hours for court time, 1 accident was investigated. 15 traffic citations, 10 traffic warnings, 2 assist motorists, 4 assist other departments, 3 follow-up investigation, and we had 2 warrant arrests. And also in this period of time, in the last couple of weeks, we did have some interviews that Hope was in on. There was 2 people that were interested in being on our boat patrol for the summer. One was an Andrew Schmidt, who works part-time for Walworth County on their boat patrol, lives in Watertown. And the other subject was a Heather Felder, who was a student at Madison College in the police academy and working to be a warden. And both parties seemed to be well qualified for the job as a boat patrol officers for the summer. And also in that interviewing, we had a process where there was a sergeant to be picked, and we ended up picking 2 sergeants. Ryan Walters was going to be for the boat patrol, and Kevin Miller for the road patrol. Also, we did some work with the Jefferson County Drug Task Force. We did have some arrests in the township. The task force did a very good job, along with our officers. One was out in Country Acres, where they got some heroin and some other stuff from there. And the other ones, there's juveniles involved, so there won't be nothing said about that. But there's still some ongoing investigations right now.
Who did you say the sergeant was for the boat patrol again?
Boat patrol would be Ryan Walters.
Ryan Walters. We were kind of faced with a tough decision there. We had 2 nice candidates for our boat patrol job. And I think you misspoke, Bob. I think her name is Tabitha, not Heather. She doesn't have a lot of experience, but she seemed like a real willing candidate, and so we decided we would hire them both.
You're right, it is Tabitha.
She's gonna be graduated from the academy by time,
Yep.
Yes, she
she's
graduates in May.
in May, and she's working towards, wants to be a warden.
sure, that's good. It'd be good.
So that was good. Both of their resumes were really nice, and
Yep.
we thought that it would be good if we had 2 officers. The second part of the interviewing was really tough because we had 2 of our currently serving part-time officers apply to be sergeants. And I guess what the decision really came down to is that Kevin really has no interest in our water patrol. And so both of them are highly qualified and were anxious to do the job, and so we just decided we would hire them both.
Sure.
And they will both be understudies to our new chief, Matt, and Matt will supervise their growth and development. I think we're basically looking at mentoring somebody to fill both of those spots. Looking to the future, thinking that maybe Scott won't be around, and it wasn't that big a deal. It seemed like a non-decision at the time, but I think after we did it, it really makes sense that we have
Sure.
one on boat patrol and
Yep.
one on road issues.
So Matt mentioned that those 2 then would be paid more.
Yes, I
So
think,
they'll be paid the same rate as the chief?
yes. And so,
And that's, but
We'll
not
need-
until June? Or when did they become sergeant, or the one that's boat patrol sergeant?
I suppose, yeah, I suppose. I think they probably start at the first of the year, though, because there'll be some supervisory details. And he'll have to work that into his budget, and then
Yeah,
next
we
year,
talked about that.
we'll look at the budget and look at how our pay is going. But I thought that was fair and equitable. I'm happy to have all 4 of those people under wraps and looking forward to the next voting season. Our officers have done a heck of a job in the last few days because we've had some strange things happen in the town. Basically, if you haven't been apprised of what's going on, we've had some people who are posing as solicitors. They were approached for permits. If you are a citizen of the town of Lake Mills and you are approached by a solicitor, you should ask for a permit. If they do not have a permit, they do not have permission to be soliciting in the town. And so our officers have been on that, and it's been very productive. So if you would, please try to tune into that website and
Actually,
do that neighborhood watch for each other.
that
It's
was
serious stuff,
reimbursement
because
and
those
the
warrant
DNR.
arrests.
2 of
that
our
he's
warrants
talking
came
about-
out of them.
Yeah, and
And
another
so-
one turned into a felony
Yeah.
charge too. So it's not
Yeah.
just that they don't have a permit, it's that
So,
they're not, they
that was,
don't need to be around in the
what,
first place.
94?
So it's been really good. And so I really applaud our police
20,
department for the hard work that they've put in. And I
It's a good budget
thank the
office.
citizens for sharing information with us. Our phone lines are open. It's been very good. So thank you. And please tune into that website so that you know what's going on in the town. On to the Joint Rock Lake Committee report. Nobody here from Joint Rock Lake. I think they're kind of settling in under the ice.
They did ask me when they could come and do their annual report, so that might be next month.
Okay, good. Item C, Planning Commission report. Jim?
Yep, we only had one person come before us, 2 variances, and we have passed those on to the board, and Allison is here tonight to talk to us about that, so that's all we had going on.
All right, thank you. Any other committee reports?
I don't, Fire Commission meets Thursday night at 6:30, if you're interested.
All
It
right,
has been posted, by the way.
yes.
Okay, thank you, because they will ask.
Item number 7, a period of public comment and questions for anything that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Hearing none. On to number 8, review of applications filed. Discussion and decision on a variance application filed by Allison Schenke for W8148 Elm Point Road. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you.
Why don't you give us a little synopsis, and then Jim can follow up with what the Planning Commission decided.
Okay, so, this last summer, we looked at, my folks.
Allison, excuse me, could you step up to the microphone?
Sure.
This makes it easier for everyone to hear.
Okay. This last summer, we looked at doing an expansion onto our property at West 8148 Elm Point Road for the main purpose of adding a second bathroom. And when we spoke to the individual that drew up the plans, she said that you can't do that. If you want a second bathroom, you have to go straight up. And so we put in a plan to not only increase our bathroom downstairs, but to put on a second level. The increase in the bathroom downstairs is because the current bathroom we have has a shower in it with a 15-inch lip. And as we all get older, my father is turning 82 this year. He had fallen twice last year trying to get in and out of the shower and had to call paramedics to come help him up. And so this kind of precipitated the need for an expansion on the cottage to allow for a 36-inch shower for him to be able to not only get into the cottage, but be able to get a walker in and out of the rooms of the cottage. The rooms currently have, for the bathroom, a 24-inch door, and unfortunately a walker doesn't allow for that, so he kind of has an issue going in and out. So we're trying to allow for not only walker access, but going forward, possibly a wheelchair or a motorized chair for him to be able to use the property to its fullest. And so we went through everything as far as plans. We discussed it with an architect. She came back and said, you're going to have to get a variance to increase the size because your at 31.7%. So at this point in time, my parents are residing in Florida at their home down there, and depending upon this, may be up for the summer or may not. So it's kind of a decision whether we can expand out that portion. The second floor, the reason we did it was basically to allow us for a second bathroom, to give him kind of access to the first solely for one basic reason. The man's in and out of the bathroom every 10 minutes. And so allowing him to have full access to that bathroom, we tried to go and put it next to it, and we were told that was too much of the space, so we were going to have to go up. So in the meantime, my sister said, well, if we're going to have to go up and put that expense, it's going to look really stupid if we go straight up and have a square. And so we worked with an architect to put on the floor and understand what it was going to go from there. So we're using the basic same area that we are for the cottage itself, and that'll also allow a two-bedroom cottage to house our ever-expanding family. My sister has 2 children and a husband, and I have a partner, and trying to fit all of us into a two-bedroom cottage is a little bit of a stretch by any means. So we're trying to allow for the house to be not only improved upon, but also turn into a possible year-round home if my sister chooses to move back here, which is a good possibility.
And what did the planning commission have to say, Jim?
Okay, well, after some discussion with our friends down in Jefferson County, we sort of uncovered, I will say, sort of a housekeeping issue. Back in 1980 or so, the garage at that time was freestanding, and they joined the house and the garage. And what happened was, if you look on the plat, the setback for the garage is 4 feet and 3.8 feet. Minimum for an attached garage on this size lot is 5 feet. So we're actually doing 2 variances. First is this housekeeping variance. They have had this in place since 1980. Technically, we could say that they've been in violation. I think that this was just it got missed when the garage got attached, and so we're doing housekeeping to put onto records that we are saying that less than a 5-foot setback is okay. Then the second variance, and the Plan Commission looked at that and approved that to come to the board. The second variance is to exceed the 30% lot coverage. And this is kind of actually why Allison first came. Kind of didn't realize this other sort of issue was in there and underlying. So with this small addition to the main floor that she was talking about, basically what happens is the lot coverage goes to 31.7%. The limit for this size lot, again, is 30%. So what we would be doing is allowing a variance to allow for that 31.7. The Plan Commission approved that also to come to the board.
All right. Any other discussion? Or questions for Allison or Jim?
So that's what this one here is, the garage for the Jefferson, the permit for the 1980 on the application, so that
Yeah.
it's nice and legal and all that.
Exactly.
But otherwise.
Right. So that's the 5-foot setback.
Right?
And then the other one is the 31.7.
Which, I don't know, looking at it, I think it's just fine, because actually, you know, it's just kind of adds to the dimension of the house. You're not getting any closer to the street or anything else, so. I mean,
All right, so we need 2 motions.
Correct.
So the first one, Jim, you're going to
I will make a motion that we approve the petition for variance for, to allow for less than a 5-foot setback for the lot at, excuse me,
8148.
thank you, Elm Point Road.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion on this setback?
The only thing is the permit was taken out in 1980, and then the connection from the garage to the house was made, so it's just housekeeping.
All the paperwork was done. This
Yep.
is purely housekeeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor of approving the first variance, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. This variance is granted. Well, I guess you have to go to the county first, right? They have to,
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment. All right, the second variance,
I will make a motion that we approve the petition for variance to exceed 30% lot coverage to 31.7% lot coverage for the house W 8148 Elm Point Road.
Second.
all right, is there any discussion?
I think it meets all the hardship criteria, so I think it should be pretty easy for you.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor of approving the second variance, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Your variances are granted, go forward and make grants.
Okay.
How many years have your parents lived there?
My grandfather and my father built it starting in 1947.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got the original plat from 1898, when it was all one, and it was owned by Strasburg's. So,
Be interesting to look at sometime. Thank
ask
you.
my mom, she's got it in a drawer, you know, she doesn't throw anything out.
Thank you. Will you greet them in Florida for us?
I will, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with the construction.
Thank you. Anybody want a signature? I'm all
No, you can't. You don't live here. You don't live here yet.
Are you gonna visit? Are you gonna visit your parents?
Dave.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Merry Christmas.
All right, item number 9 is old business. Further discussion on raising the revenue to increase the highway construction budget.
All right, our favorite subject.
Well, I think it's really good. I did go to the County Towns Association meeting, and I did sit down next to the town chairman of the town of Oakland.
Oh, Gene.
And I said to Gene, you know, what do you think? What do you think? And he said, well, we just did it.
Yep, I know they did. So did Asselin.
And that gentleman was standing there talking to us too.
Gene
Yeah, Kapsner and
Olson.
Olson.
Both of them Genes.
No. Who's the other supervisor?
Oh, Dave Cool. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he just took over for.
Yep.
Yep,
Anyway,
I
they're
met him
all
once.
doing it. And the only way you can exceed the levy limits is by borrowing.
And technically, you're not exceeding the levy limits. You are paying down debt.
And so what Gene told me was that they raised their levy, or they raised their special assessment. And they raised it almost 7% on every tax bill. And nobody said a word.
And when did they do that?
This year.
They've
Both
been
of them
doing
did
it
this
for 3 years.
Okay, because last year, wasn't it, when we went to that training, they said you could not raise a special assessment anymore. Starting, they were taught last year. Right. You could keep it the same, but you couldn't.
That's
Increase it.
That's the levy by state.
No, it was a special assessment.
So what Sarah and I have done since then, that was the 2nd of December, I went to that meeting.
Yep.
Sarah's made contact with the clerk in the town of Oakland,
Oakland.
and we thought we'd maybe sit down with them,
Okay, sounds good.
talk to them.
Because we could still do this in 2015.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sarah,
Yep.
with what you understand then, or what you were told, does that not allow us to do this?
I'm saying we need to ask, and I know where to
Okay,
ask, but.
So, and you're gonna touch base with the Towns Association?
The Department of Revenue, actually.
Okay.
it seems to be the tool that everyone else is using to raise
Well, because
some.
I remember, I mean, there was a lot of question that day, and so I mean, people, well, what about our garbage, and what about this, and it was special assessment, I know that. But there's two different things, there's a special assessment and a special charge, so maybe that's the distinction.
Okay.
So we need to do a little more work on that, figure
Yep.
out how that is. But we got some time to do that.
We
and,
do. And actually, what we could do is rather than borrowing the money this year, which we can't, there's not enough time to do it, anyway, and then pay it off in a year from now, we actually can do the work, borrow the money, say in November, and then we'd only actually be paying maybe 1 month of interest because you could pay it back by the 1st of January. So it's a better way to do it.
So that's kind of what we're looking at.
I think the key to this whole thing is that people have to understand that we don't have any funds to be able to address our deteriorating roads. That's just the bottom line. And so we have to do something, or have people accept that, you know, this is, the roads are going to just keep getting worse and worse and worse because plowing budgets are up, all of the other maintenance on the roads is up. We use up our highway budget every single year, especially
For
when we have.
Band-Aids.
That's a good point, Dave. Absolutely.
And it's not only the towns that are having to do that, because the state shared revenue is less than what it used to be. And the state is looking at a lot of different techniques to try to generate funds, whether it's going to be increased gas tax. Our federal roads are looking for ways to increase income. I think, you know, they're talking registrations, they're talking gas tax, they're talking on these hybrid cars that aren't using much gasoline, and they're still using our roads. So there's going to be a lot of changes. So it's not just the town. And the real sad part about the whole thing is a lot of these roads were all set up. The interstate was set up, you know, back in Roosevelt and Hoover days. And, we should have been putting money away. All we've done is burn up our infrastructure, and here we sit.
One of the other things that I think is going to be key to this whole thing is, and you've touched on this before, is we are going to need to really go in and do a good assessment of what we believe is, I will say, the right level for maintenance and or rebuild. Right? Mm-hmm. Because there are many, many different options, and those different options obviously cost, you know, varying amounts depending on what we do. And for our town roads and the amount of traffic that they see, the weight and that type of thing, there has got to be sort of, I'll say, a sweet spot of whether we grind, pulverize, add additional rock, overlay, you know, whatever that combination might be, and the quantities of that. Because if we can be really successful with finding that sweet spot, we'll be able to do more mileage for the given dollar.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the keys.
Something else that came up that evening that I thought was very interesting and that we need to pursue is the rotation that we've had on our trip grants. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where every year, there's a group of towns that come up to be able to use the trip money that's there and the money that we are awarded in highway dollars. It seems that has been administered in a rotational way.
Right.
And it is supposed to be administered on a needs basis. And so towns are going to be applying, and towns are going to be evaluating and competing with each other, and there won't be that rotation anymore. I guess this is something that the DOT and the state statutes have governed, but it hasn't really been implemented. It's been implemented in a different way. And it just so happens that I sit on that highway committee.
But see, on the Trip D, the way it has always worked in the past, there's, if I remember correctly, it's 4 townships every so many years on the rotation, then those 4 townships then go for the need, and then you would get accepted, which we were accepted in 2000 and...
Actually, it should be done on a need basis every year, so all towns are competing on the same, I mean, each town can apply,
Right.
but it's up to that committee to decide where the need really lies. It might lie in the town of Lake Mills 2 years running, instead of that 4-year rotation. So there's
Or
gonna.
it could be in other towns
Yeah.
and
you
we
will
get
nothing.
skunked
Yeah.
year after year
See, that's
after
what I'm
year.
thinking.
Right,
is at least
exactly.
we have increased our odds if it stays the way it is.
Well, it's not gonna stay the way it is, although all those monies are already decided on for 2015. And so it'll be a new process, and that'll be in the implementation this coming year.
I think the other thing that we have discussed a little bit is getting an understanding, as well as sort of finding that sweet spot that I talked about for, you know, how do we get the most mileage, most bang for our buck type of thing. I think we also need to understand what that dollar amount that we would want to go for, what that means to the taxpayers.
I've
you know.
got that for you.
Sweet.
Oh.
I'll even project it.
Oh, here's our...
Oh,
pie.
pies.
Pie.
Oh,
Right.
oh.
So excited. Okay,
Wait a minute, mine's apple.
so I took my own personal tax bill from last year, and I took all the calculations I did for the county this last month, and I figured out this whole darn thing out. Okay, so what you're looking at here is total assessed value. We know that plays into it. Essentially what happens with a tax bill, now how your tax bill gets calculated, is all of these numbers here on tax collected for state, county, town, school districts, those are your buckets. So if you're coming up to the buckets with your $1,000, I'm gonna tell you exactly how much money you're gonna put in each bucket,
Okay.
okay? So this is the total that we collect for the entire town. The town collects this much from all of the residents, okay?
Okay.
And the way that they determine how much you're going to pay of that piece is with what your property is assessed at compared to what the entire town's property is assessed at, okay? Make sense so far?
Yep.
Okay, so that this number here is derived with your piece divided by the total piece. That gives you
Okay.
your portion of this state, for this example, of this state part total. This is the piece you're contributing, okay? Okay, so, just as a side note here, notice this is how much we're collecting from everybody. This is how much we pay out to everybody else.
Right.
We get to keep a whopping 7.65% of what we collect. Right? Anyway, I find that interesting. So down below here then, all I did was take each of these, my portion of each of those assessment, or of each of these buckets, divided by the total, gives me these percentages here, and applied that to $1,000. So I'm going to take $9.84 and plunk that in the state bucket, and $2.77 in the county, and so on and so on. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So then you get your pie chart. That's where your tax dollars go. 52% to the school district. Now, that's Lake Mills. Cambridge, I'm not sure exactly how much of our assessed value is in Cambridge School District versus Lake Mills. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I don't know where to find it. That's the
Okay.
bulk of it, and then the county gets the next big chunk, and that's how it's divided out. I don't know how much detail you want me to say on here.
Oh, that's nice work,
Okay,
Sarah.
so then
is.
the next piece is, what if we added 100,000?
Because that's what we had talked about, was
That was
borrowing
the
100,000 for road
That
repair.
was
Yep.
Dave's example, right?
Yep.
So I just went through and did the exact same calculation, adding a separate line item for roads on the tax bill. Would add to, for mine, at $352,000 roughly, is $125. And if down below is that adds, it's $20.92.
Per thousand,
Thousand of tax.
right,
Okay, and,
okay.
and what
So
we're seeing off to
That's
the,
gonna be, I'm sorry.
oh, go, no, go ahead.
I'm just, well, the only thing I was gonna say is that's what